We're live. Hello, 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 hello. I am Patrick, first and foremost. Who are you?
I'm Anne.
Patrick and Anne. We are here on behalf of Plain Talk Philadelphia. We're an organization in the Philadelphia region, Center City to be exact. And we are all about promoting sexual health, good communication between parents and children, and all sorts of other good stuff. What we're going to talk about today is this awesome live stream. Well, we're live streaming today, right? Aren't we?
Yep,
but
we're
live.
live.
An awesome live stream that we are going to do on Friday, November 20th, 2015, not 2016, not 2014, but this year. This Friday at noon. It's a lunchtime kind of like talk session about how parents communicate with their children, specifically about how they communicate on issues regarding sex and sexuality. So one of our questions that we have include, how young is it to talk to your child/children about sex? You know, do you want to talk to them about sex when they're like 12, or do you want to talk about it when they're like 20 and they're ready to make their decision?
Or sometimes parents may decide to talk to the kids, but what if they're already active? So we're essentially trying to figure out two things. What time is it most appropriate to discuss when to our teens? When should they be having sex? Or two, how young is too young, essentially, to be having sex? So just come chat with us on Friday so we can just get everyone's different opinions on what everything should be.
Yeah, we're going to have a special guest. We're really excited. I'm really excited to completely freak this guest out with my crazy opinions, my crazy faces, and laughs and jokes, right? What are you excited for?
I just want to see everyone's insight because we all grew up so different. So, like, I know we're always talking about our different views. And for instance, like, what age do you think it's okay for teens to start having sex?
That's a really good question. What age? I don't know. I mean, I could say at the age that you get married, depending, because of how I was raised, but then I could also say that that's kind of out the window depending on my experiences. So I don't know. What is a right age? I feel like the right age is the age that you, the individual, the youth, feel most appropriate and feel like they can have sex and then be mentally prepared for the repercussions, whatever that may be later on down the road. And not just mentally, financially, spiritually, emotionally, because you can have sex and then not handle it on all fronts and then die.
Absolutely. And sometimes some things I wonder about is not only the age, but does that change for boys and girls alike? I just feel like there's just this pressure on boys to not wait. You know, so many boys go out their way, or at least they feel like they're pressured, or their fellow peers may say that they've done more than they have just to be accepted. As for girls, they're pressured more to wait, or there's more of stigma attached to it. So it's just crazy to notice, how it just changes the roles and gender roles are introduced.
I think the whole gender role thing is super interesting though, because guys are kind of stereotyped or even pressured to kind of perform sexually at a younger age. But isn't it kind of like a scientific fact that girls mature faster than guys? And I could be completely wrong and could be spitting all types of false information.
Right.
But like, I feel like I heard that at some point in my life. So it's so funny that like guys are, pressured to just jump the gun on sex, and girls are kind of pressured to, be like some virgin until they're kind of bought.
Essentially. And I mean, I don't have the data on me right now, which I definitely can have it Friday. But
at noon, Friday at noon.
But there's also, it's just data has shown, like, I don't know the exact percentages, that girls do tend to wait longer than boys. So it would be interesting to discuss if that's because of what parents tell them, what their friends tell them, what the media tells them. I also know that over the years, teens are introduced to sex earlier and earlier.
You think so?
I think compared to perhaps when the generation before us, or the one even before that one, I think they probably waited longer than average than our generation.
See, I always like to say that they do, but then I'm not fooled, because I feel like, your granddaddy, your grandmama, first of all, they were like starting families at younger ages.
True.
So by default, they'd be having sex at younger ages, And I think just because of how society has kind of progressed, and like there's so many other things you want to do, that school has become a priority, professionalism has become a priority, getting a job and being able to provide for yourself and then your family. People always advocate for, holding off on sex. But it's just like, well, if you were having it at a young age, why can't I? You know what I mean? Just because, you know, our society has changed doesn't mean our actions have to change.
So if parents do believe that they're going to tell, you know, their teen wait until marriage, then essentially they're asking for their teen to wait longer than they did, because data has shown that people are getting married at a much later age. You know, the economy, school, a lot of more people in school.
But then also, what about those who don't want to get married? Like, for example, I don't see myself on the married train. I'm just going to put myself out there. So if I follow my parents' rule of waiting until I get married, will I just be sitting here knitting for the rest of my days? Like, these are questions that we're definitely going to ask our special guest, and that's why I said I'm going to freak him out. So yeah, I
also think depends on how you were brought up. You brought up a good point. I know for me, as I'm first generation daughter of an immigrant parents, so I do know in the Caribbean it's much more strict probably than what people in America are exposed to. I do remember challenging my parents, and not just about sex, about anything, like wanting to go to a sleepover, wanting to go to a party. They're like, absolutely not. You're my daughter. And they're totally to this day not Americanized. So I do also think it depends on how you were brought up. And then it's just, how do parents who are not American or grown up how do they deal with talking to their child about sex? Or even if they would address it, I think that's interesting to, you know, like how the difference of cultures clash, and are they going to assimilate? Are they going to discuss that? Because from like even in previous classes I've had, I don't remember what country, but I do remember I had a peer, and she said she would never talk to her kids. She believed that discussing with her teen sexual health, she felt like it was pushing her to have sex.
I think that's interesting, especially from like a first generation standpoint. So I am also first generation. I feel like my parents should be special guests on this thing. They're Jamaican, and I mean, they didn't necessarily like talk to me about it. Whenever we talk about sex, it's like really hella uncomfortable. But now that I told them I want to be a sex therapist, they're just like, oh, well, let me ask you this. And I'm just like, no, calm down. But when I was younger, I remember them taking me to this place that was in like the Philadelphia area. It's this store called Zany Brainy. It had like all of these bomb Legos and like Beanie Babies. It was like a really like hands-on-y type of store. Crazy. But there was this book that they bought from me. It was illustrated by the guy who illustrated Arthur, the little aardvark on PBS. Yeah. And it was like a book about just like growing into yourself and like what happens when puberty takes place and things like that. And I was just like, okay, this is cool, but it really didn't show me much. And I mean, it was like a great book because it was just like, okay, well, I think I'm like growing the way I'm supposed to. But then when it gets to like the nitty gritty stuff, like when you're in high school and you know somebody wants to take you out at like 8 p.m. when it's way past your bedtime, like what do you do? Or, you know, if you go to a party and someone offers you a drink,
no, I don't think books can cover that, because like you, actually my parents didn't give me a book. When I was in the 7th grade, I found a book. I can't remember the title. Did they get you a Bible? No. Oh, I mean, I was. First of all, my parents were super, by the way, my parents are traditional old school Dominicans and Caribbean. Yeah. So when I remember, not only was I in school across the street from my house, but I was in Sunday school, and the nuns made sure I was in Saturday school too. So I was Bible thumping. So I was always preoccupied, but it's just like, I knew at 12 years old, I was very too curious. I knew that it's like, hey, there's more going on that the nuns are letting me know. So in school, I had picked out this book in the library, and it talks about like all the changes, and it shows the different stages of the breast, boys and the penis. And I remember my mom, of course, found the book, and the page she opened to was when the female vulva was exposed, and it showed the vagina, the clitoris, everything. She's like, "Where did you get this book?" I'm gonna tell you. Devil's book. I'm going to tell your father. And I remember I'm sarcastic. I don't know how I didn't get in trouble for this response. And I said, well, if you don't tell me, how am I going to find out? Right. And I feel like by middle school, personally, that was in the 7th grade. And obviously, I wasn't sexually active, but there were people already around me. No, middle school was off the charts. It was like out of control. And you have to remember, like, I was at the appropriate age. You know, I was 12 in the 7th grade, 13 in the 7th grade. That's appropriate, but growing up in the Bronx, so there was plenty of kids that were in 7th grade. They were 14 and 15. So it was just a lot of, I don't know, sex going on around me. And it's just like, I have no idea what's going on.
Exactly. Same.
And I just, wish I had my parents at least talk to me about it instead of, trying to get knowledge from a book. Because you are right. You can get data from a book, but you don't get that, like, feel of, like, if I have a question, I can't ask the book.
Right.
So.
I mean, I don't know if I wish I had my parents there to talk to me about it, because that might be, like, a little awkward. But I wish I had, like, an older brother or something, because I feel you with, like, the middle school thing. Like, I remember being in 8th grade. I moved out of Philadelphia and into kind of, like, the Maryland region. And I just remember hearing about, like, my friends having, like, orgies and things like that. I'm just putting all their business out there, but it's okay. But, yeah, I heard about things like that, and I was just like, oh, my gosh, what the F is an orgy? But I wasn't having anything. I was hardly having handshakes. So it was just like, you know what I mean? Hugs or like hellos. So it was a weird place that I was in, because I was just like, oh, am I behind the fray, or are they just like, in front of the fray? So it's just like, I wish there was just an older figure there to kind of say, okay, the way you like, experience sexuality, the way you step into yourself sexually is all up to you. There is no like right way or wrong way to do it. I feel like we have been rapping, and I know we said we were going to do this for about like 5 minutes. We don't want to like spill all the beans at first, but I do want to just put this little input in. Go to www.hypetvshow, that's HYPETV show, SHOW.com, and that's where you'll find us on Friday, November 20th, 2015 at noon. It's your lunch hour, so I know you're free. Come on and tune in. Do we want to just leave them with any other remarks? What else are we going to talk? We're going to talk about everything. We know our special guest has a child, so we're going to talk about how they're preparing their mind and their body and their spirit to talk to their child about sex.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be interactive. So I feel like if people have questions,
or type them in.
No matter how outlandish you think your opinion might be or anything, if you need just to say something, you can totally talk to us about it.
Right.
We can feel free to discuss, because I'm pretty sure every parent has had some idea in their head or some concern, or even maybe not a parent. Maybe if you're like the guardian, maybe you're like an older brother who's watching your bro go down like the path you don't want
watching your bro go down on
your little bro, like go down the wrong path.
Sorry, I'm overwhelmed.
No, like how sometimes like we just I feel like as me, I'm a older sister. I'm older by her by 8 years. I gave her the sex talk, and she it was dope. We talked about it, and she was very receptive of me. I'm pretty sure my sister in middle school did not want to listen to my mom, who was 40 something. Once she got to 45, I lost 8 count of it.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure she appreciated me giving her the talk to my mom. So maybe anybody out there.
All right. So. Yeah, let's not get into anything, because I'm crazy and I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're getting the wrong picture of certain things.
I'm hyped. But speaking of hype, again, don't forget to tune into www.hypetvshow.com. Patrick and
you can call me Annie, whatever.
And Annie, Patty's Pies. We'll probably be talking about that too.
They're sold out. You have to give up on that.
Oh, I'm sad about it. We'll be also streaming live on the Periscope, Plain Talk Philly. I'll be streaming from my Twitter accounts, Twitter, Instagram, all of that. I am P. Ryan. Do you have any?
No, not right now, but I can definitely have some set up on Friday.
I am P. Ryan. Check me out. But again, Plain Talk Philly for our Periscope, Plain Talk 215, hypetvshow.com for the live stream. I'm going to stop talking because clearly I'm too hyped, and we will see you guys later.